all right with you?
Yeah, what page?
Page 30.
All right, yeah.
Okay. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence that this illusion is astonishing. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently may be, has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led us in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. And I'll just hand it over to you there.
Well, thanks, Kathleen. Nice to see
Welcome.
everybody. Yeah, this beautiful 2 paragraphs, really. It basically, I feel all of us here probably have already completed the first paragraph many times over. Yeah. We've gone through these vain attempts to prove we could drink or use like other people. And the beautiful thing for me is this idea of conceding to our innermost selves. I felt that is different than admitting. See, the head can admit something and then change its mind a minute later. I felt, in my experience, I ended up in a trailer park, sitting in a trailer with someone I didn't know, coming out of a long blackout. And something did for me what no human power could do. I got sort of struck sober. And it set off, and something, the message hit the innermost self. I didn't understand there was one of that anymore. I was living quite on the surface of the mental condition, but something admitted to the innermost self that I was screwed and that I was not managerial quality. That was the emphasis. And when that occurred, it set off trains of circumstances that night brought me to my first recovery meeting, 1988, March 21st. And I've been clean and sober ever since. So the idea of admitting and then admitting to our innermost selves is very different to me, because I admitted to people I was an alcoholic to get another drink. You know, I admitted people a lot of things with the hopes they would give me a pass or allow me to be irresponsible to stuff. But the innermost self, the conceding in the innermost self is different. That has some power to it. And what happened was that miracle, that power had to be attached to a way of life. So the power triggered a new possibility. And then to initiate and to manifest that new possibility, it was necessary I met recovery that night. Because without a way of life, I truly believe that admitting to the innermost self would have disappeared in a couple of days, or would have gotten smothered again by the surface activity. Yet by meeting AA, the direction was set and sobriety just grew in that direction. And to me, what really changed, what directed change is growth. Yeah. I was constantly trying to change how I feel. It wasn't about change, but it was directed change. So the way of life directed the changes that were going to happen to me and supported those changes and made them easier, instead of having to go against a huge current of old habit, yeah, and all that anxiety, or if you want to call it fear. It gave me an oomph that pushed me in that new directed change, that growth into reliance on something greater than self. And I have thousands of small and big experiences of where that wiring was reconnected. It was unconnected from trusting the finite and then connected to trusting the infinite. Over and over again, those demonstrations are like trigger points in this event of recovery for me. Yeah. And here, the idea that we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. Why? Because we learned by saying we were alcoholic didn't work a lot of the times. Yeah. I said, yeah, I know, and then I'd be drunk that night. But something happens in this other level where something is conceded in a, let's call it a deeper level, and there's some oomph there, or grace. And that's really what propelled the first year or two of AA. I was just being moved completely, obviously. And where people would get stuck, oh God, or anything, I just moved right through it, because I didn't care what it looked like or who brought the relief. I wanted the relief. Yeah. I needed relief from the bondage of self. And so, yeah, this idea of trying to save your face, which is, no one wants to think that we're bodily and mentally different from our fellows. Yeah. And all this stuff is really, AA told me you got to be willing to save your ass instead of your face. And I was in the predicament of thinking my face was my ass, literally. And all this had to be corrected. And I needed a way of life. I couldn't go to retreats every week of the year. You know what I mean? I had shit. Life was demanding certain things like getting a job and finding a place to live. I had to be participating. I couldn't take off, the relief and the removal and the diminishing of the disease had to happen like mobile, while I was living. Yeah, I didn't have the luxury to stay in a rehab I did already 2 years in Delancey Street. It's not what I would think a rehab would trigger in other people's. It wasn't a very nice place, but I did live there for 2 years, and that hadn't worked. Yeah, it had worked on a lot of levels, but it hadn't worked on the final level, which was conceding to my innermost self. Yeah, that hadn't happened there. So yeah, more about alcoholism. What I'd really like to get to another chapter, which is less about alcoholism. I hope the chapters of your life now are completely less about alcoholism instead of more about alcoholism, like the second book of Relief. More less about alcoholism. More or less about alcoholism. Yeah. So I hope the point we're attempting to present here all the time is a simple recognition. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, follow other suggestions. But to look at page 64 and maybe read it in the way we're going to state here, which is being convinced, page 64 around the third paragraph. Being convinced, which means to believe with certainty, and being means right now you're in the believing with certainty. Yeah. You may not think you are, but in the innermost self, there is a believing with certainty that you're fucked. There is, it's there. Yeah, you don't have to do any more. No more shit has to actually happen for that being convinced to occur. It's already in place. You've had enough complete demoralization, doing the same thing over and over again. I think most of us have really overdone it. And now the time is to see that the innermost self, where our new navigational system is from, is completely in the being convinced. Yeah, that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. So self defeats us through its manifestations. How does that happen? Well, we call them ours, really. It's just that simple. So a resentment, which is a manifestation of self in one's life, we call it our resentment. I mean, it's just simple. Yeah. So why could you just entertain the possibility they may not be yours? That's not a denial of the resentment when it's there. It's a negation of the owning of it. Yeah. And putting the ownership on the right target, which is self. Yeah. It's not us. So being convinced, self manifested in various ways. All right. Is what has defeated us. Okay. So self, I don't think, is us. Yeah. It just, I don't see it. I just don't see that's the meaning, how it's used in the English language. I don't. Self sounds like a singularity that has defeated a collective, which is us. Yeah. And how does it defeat us? Through its manifestations. Okay. We can't see self because it's more of an activity, but we can see the manifestations of self. Yeah. At this point, we can't know the tree, but we can know it by its fruits. So let's do an inventory on self's manifestations. That's all. It's a simple, and direction is right there. Self's manifestations, instead of doing it based on our manifestations. That's all. Yeah. You can do both. Do one with you as the one, with you as the source of the problem, with you as the one who manufactures the misery, with you as the one, and then just entertain the possibility you may not be that one. So let's look at self's manifestations. And I feel if self isn't you, you're going to have a much more better opportunity to be fearless and thorough about its manifestations. I do, because you won't have a dog in the hunt to protect its and camouflage it. You'll just be really rigorously honest and tell the truth because it's not freaking you. Yeah. That's all. That's the whole premise of this. There are people that have spent years studying one paragraph of the book. They know how many periods have been used or commas or whatever. We're not talking about that. There's tons of professors. Yeah, we're talking about the spirit of how, especially how 4 through 9, which are the working steps, work. Either they're working on you or as you. Yeah. On you, the you that you're not, or as the you that you're not. Yeah. I find it so much, it's brought about such a relief over the years that it's undeniable in this event. Yeah. That's why I show up every week, because seeing self as other brought about the possibility of being free from it. And it informed me I had been trying to be free as it because I was handcuffed to it by identification as it. That's simple. So I've been trying to be free as self when the freedom is from it. Yeah. That's profoundly different. Now, all the ways you're going to be free or all the things you may do, there it is. There's a way of life called recovery. I think it's completely sound. It works. I do believe it will work even better with the right diagnosis of the exact nature of the wrong. I do. I think it's important because psoriasis and eczema share some of the qualities, but not all of them. And if you're putting eczema ointment on psoriasis, you're not going to get a great relief. You're going to get some relief, but it's going to be handcuffed by the misidentification as the problem. Yeah. You don't have eczema, you have psoriasis. Yeah. Something foreign to you has taken you over and used you as transportation. You can't keep living from the narrative you did it all. You can't. It's not going to work. Yeah. It's going to bring you to a state of complete incomprehensible demoralization because you'll be responsible for shit that you could not even imagine to do. Yeah. Yeah. So of course, when you're confronted with the paradox of this mistaken identity, it seems to lead us to an incomprehensible, pitiful demoralization. Yeah. Because if you were the doer, why would you have ever fucking done that? And especially over and over and over and over again, it just dismisses all the fanciful attributes we think we have. Yeah, I learn, I get better, I do this. It doesn't, it just squashes that whole thing. Yeah, I saw the key of it is seeing it as foreign. Yeah, as like a disease. People who have cancer don't think they're cancer, do they? They don't go, oh, my name is cancer and I have cancer. Good luck then. Having cancer is going to be a long-term condition, yeah? But no, it's Paul cancer, yeah? In this case, this disease is of the mental variety, and it talks to us as us. It presents itself as us, yeah? It narrates and interprets everything as us with its own agenda. And when it plays out its own agenda to, let's say, the 9th degree, we're left with an incomprehensible demoralization because I would never have thought I wanted to end up here. Yes? I never have thought I wanted to ruin everything that ever loved me. It just makes no fucking sense. Yeah. So what happens? When this simple correction is seen and you do the work concerning that, what you bring the steps 6 and 7 isn't of you, it's of that which you're not. Yeah. And then it's almost like life gets cleaned of that infection. And it's returned to you. And now it's enriching your day instead of enslaving your day to some fucking insane idea. That's what we're offering here. How you do your skillful means, the steps and everything, great. But are you the same doer that did all that shit while under the influence? Are you doing the same shit? Generally, probably not, especially not to the same extreme. Yeah. The self has somewhat been handcuffed by being sober, because it doesn't have its fuel to really make a huge production out of shit. Yeah. Now it just rips you a new one in your own head. So, yeah, perhaps there is a solution. Yeah. It's from something, not as something. We're not going to get better as the disease. We get relief from the disease. If the disease is of self, I hope, you need to see that which is defeating you as other than you, or you can't possibly entertain freedom from it. Yeah. Which is the freedom. The freedom is from the bondage of self, not as the bondage of self. So, yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone want to raise a hand?
I just wanted to say it was brilliant. Thank you, Paul.
Mm.
Landed excellent, nothing extra.
Great.
Miranda has her hand up.
Miranda, alcoholic.
Hi,
I know
Miranda.
this ain't a meeting. I love you, Kathleen. That just needs to be said. Also,
Thank you,
I have
baby.
the freedom to bounce out of here because I got some other shit to do. And I just get to do all of this other shit when I need to and want to because of all the freedom that I've found here, that you've helped me find here, guys. And I love you all. Bless up, motherfuckers.
Yes. That's my motto for the day. Bless up, motherfuckers. All right, I'll go with that.
You ready for Sally, Paul?
I don't know if I could ever be ready for Sally, but I'll show up. Yes. Come on, Sally.
Yeah, you know what? I did I did my fourth step today with somebody. And as I did it,
Your fifth step.
I just read it. Yeah, I read it to somebody.
Yeah, fifth step.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fifth, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of new here. So and as I read it, I could feel this kind of thing leaving, like there was this, the body felt really different. And that was good. But then since then, heads come back in and started whispering little doubts. It's like, yeah, but that's a real fuck up, right? I mean, that's massive. Like, look at this. Yeah, and even though I know, like, that that's not the thing, because mine's a behavioral one, so there's not this thing of either drinking or not drinking. It's like how I go about and organize my day. So there's not really a, I mean, I know when I'm kind of out of it, but it's not, there's not this kind of very clear one thing, either drinking or not drinking.
Yes.
So well, I've got lots of things actually, but they're all a bit like that. But yeah, so it just kind of came back, and I just thought, what a disaster. And then I started thinking, well, the cause of this thing isn't money or lack of money or anything else. It is the resentment. I can see that it is the resentment, but then it's not my resentment. It's compulsion to act on what I think is me, right?
Yes. Yes. So you're seeing it. And of course, once it's sort of like if you get a look of the underbelly, then it tends to get quite irritated. So it usually, the mouse will roar. Yeah. Yeah. So this is ordinary. Actually, I'd be surprised if it didn't, because it's threatened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was,
needs
yeah,
you.
it
It
was a
needs
surprise.
you way more than you need it. It's completely dependent on you. So, yeah. And hopefully now it overplayed its hand, and you're seeing it in all of its, rabid glory. Yeah. And if it gets to do service, do something else, distract yourself, be available for something else. Yes. And then you just progress, just like it said in this reading, the illness progresses. I believe the recovery from the illness progresses. So, yeah. So your illness is mostly in where the underlying causes and conditions are. Other people had the response to those underlying causes, conditions, which became a runaway train of addiction concerning alcohol and drugs. So that has to be stopped first for other things to be looked at. Yeah. You just went to the underlying causes and conditions, and here you go. So remember the idea, the tried and true thing that works is service, really. when you seem to, do not try to think yourself out of the ass of self. That's part of being up the ass of self. Yeah, it just is. It's sort of like, yeah. So, and a lot of like other things that are in vogue now, like non-duality, obviously, because they're questioning the whole establishment of you and me, there can seem to be a lack of service, or the emphasis on service, yeah, where service is essential for the action figure. It is essential because the action figure is the object of ideation, and something's circling it, yes? And you need to have that energy that's circling it be brought out away from it, and service does that. So you get a feeling, because when the head is dominating, it's quite claustrophobic. It's like a marathon runner in a closet, yeah? And you can't, after a while, you don't know any better. You think this is the only race there is in this closet. But if you do, let's say, something like service, it'll pull the attention out of that closet, and you'll see other possibilities. Now, you may seem to go back again, but something is brewing now. Something is going to change, yeah? And sometimes you'll find yourself living more outside of the closet than inside the closet, yeah? Because the attention and interest will be freed from that ideation of self, yes? The obsession with self. Yeah, this is a process for some people. Some people get whacked, and then it's a process of how to live like that. Some people, it takes a while. It's like in AA, there's the educational version of the spiritual awakening, and then there's the burning bush version of the spiritual awakening. Yes, but what's inevitably being moved towards, either immediately with no time or space, or through this place, is spiritual awakening, which isn't an achievement. It's already a fact. It needs to be, what's covering it needs to be uncovered, yes? And then there's that unsuspected inner resource, and you realize it's always been there. Yeah, yeah. So, of course, the thing's gonna roar back because it shows its teeth. Yeah, yeah. Same, but the principles are the same. The principles, no matter how loud it is, you're not that. That's the principle. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Sally. Yeah.
Thank
Okay, Paul, we have Garan. Pronounce your name
Göran,
for me.
Göran,
Göran.
Okay. Hi.
Thanks. Hi, Paul. Thank you for your share. It was really great. I was thinking on page 62 in the big book, it says that we could get entirely rid of self with God's help. And I think you said earlier that they didn't really take it in the big book and talked about the final solution, like I think, like, I guess there's no self, that it's the identification you talk about. But they mention in the big book, they mention selfishness, self-centeredness in the big book. Can you understand what I mean? Can you comment about that?
Well, the thing that sees selfishness, self-centeredness. Now that can be, a lot of people would, in their interpretation, would see that as egoic. Yeah. So there's a part of them that is claiming to be most of them. And so the ego needs to be removed or weakened and stuff like that. we're saying the sense of self is the feeling of the one who's thinking, the one who's seeing, the one who's doing, the one who's tasting, the one who's thought they did this and then saw they should have done that. The sense of being a long-lasting, independent, separate thing, the alpha and the omega. That to me is the sense of self that I see. Yeah. That feeling of owning a lot of shit you have nothing to do with. So, so when you look at any life run on self-will, I don't see it as me demonstrating myself as in egoically and then living my life from a egoic centered will. No, I see self as completely foreign to me. Yeah. So when I read a life run on self-will, it's sort of like my name is Paul and any life run on Stanley's will is going to be unsuccessful. Yes, because I'm not Stanley. Yes. So that's how I see self. So when I read the word self, I see it as a foreign activity. And to be clearer about the activity, I call it selfing. And I don't believe there's a thing that's identified as a thing. I think there's an identification as a thing. Yeah. I don't believe there's a thing doing that. Yeah. So that's how I see it. So any life run on self-will sounds like, yeah, here's this life and self is running it. Yeah. I'm not running it. I am not self. Yeah. So I'm accountable for what self's done here in this place, but I'm not responsible for what self's done. Yeah. If I'm responsible for what self did, it seems that it's mine and it ain't. So I see an accountability as the next wave of recovery after you take responsibility for everything. It's going to lead you to see something else was responsible for a lot of it. And then you're going to lay the responsibility of what's really responsible for it, which is self. So that's an accountability. Sort of like my dog took a shit on the lawn of the neighbors. I did not take the shit on the lawn. Yeah. So I'm accountable for that dog taking a shit. I'm not responsible for the shit. So I'm not going to be, going over it for 30 freaking years. Why did I take the shit on the lawn? I didn't. The dog did. Yeah. So that's the feeling I live with it as when we talk about self. Yeah.
Because it's interesting. It's like I've been clean and sober for 19 years, but it seems like from the beginning, after I did the treatment, I had some relief, and then after a few years, I did the steps as they were in the big book, and I had a spiritual awakening. But it seems like it's always been a self doing these things. It's like this self energy is somehow like always I need to improve, I need to be better, I need meditation, like you do a meditation and you doing as a self, that's really painful.
Oh yeah.
And
So this is the diagram of that from where we're sitting. So the movement of selfing claims whatever is going on to imply it was the one who's doing it or being done to by it. Yeah. This is a mechanical programmed activity. There's no choice of volition in it. Yeah. You're not doing it. You're not doing what self is doing. Yeah. You're being used to do what self is doing. Yes. So basically, this is the spirit of the flavor of relief. Yeah. Yeah. So when anything I did in AA, it didn't matter that self tried to claim it because of the momentum of grace. Yeah. It still produced goods. So the story would be, I did it, but that still did not change the momentum of what was done because the grace was the first punch finally. Yeah. Yes. So basically, everything that ever happened usually has been claimed by self. Does it make it self? Did it? No. That's the whole point of the message. This isn't about having that which seems to never really change miraculously. It's not about that. It's about recognizing it's not you. Yeah. And what happens is when you see it as not you, you lose interest in changing it. Yeah. So you stop doing the definition of insanity, trying to rely on the same thing and expect different results. No, you've realized it's a failed mechanism. Selfing doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't. All right, you've been convinced of that. So now you recognize it. See, when you believe you change, there's an assumption that all this other shit's going to change. It's not you. It's mechanical. It keeps going on. Yeah. If you're in heaven, it's going to claim it's you in heaven. If you're in hell, it's probably going to blame you for being in hell. Yes. The heaven ain't going to change its mechanicalness. You're just going to see it instead of look from it. Yeah. If you're looking from it, it's already completed its mission. You're living from the act of being identified as self. If you see it, there's a possibility. Yeah. Of what? I hope you find out. Who would want to take away the joy of being relieved of the bondage of self? Just find out. Hear this and see where it takes you. Yeah. So no, self has never done anything. Self isn't. Alcoholism can't drink. Yeah. It can't go out and buy the alcohol. It needs to move this body. It needs to replace an agenda that may have grown in this body with its agenda. And how it disguises it, it convinces us that its agenda is our agenda. And we get left holding the bag when a lot of its agenda didn't work out. We're just overwhelmed by guilt and shame based on all those failings. The bondage of self, even after its active behavior, is still bonding us to through the guilt and shame. Some people I meet, they're 37 years sober and they're still filled with guilt and shame for what they believe they did 38 years ago. When's that going to clear up? If you believe the manifestations of self are yours, there's going to be guilt and shame as part of your fucking constellation, so to speak. Yes? You're going to be bound to the past by the idea that you were the doer of all that stuff. I have no feeling I was the doer of it. None. I did the exact same shit any other addict would have done with the same situation. There was no unique characteristics I was demonstrating. When I got help, it was because the people saw me exactly what I was, an addict. Yeah. Yes. I had been taken over by addiction. They knew how to treat an addict. And in those 2 years, I lived with them, seeing me not as Paul, but as an addict. I thrived. I got a whole lot better. Yeah. I was in that 2-year program because I could not do that myself. When the addict was speaking to me, I thought it was Paul. Yes? I had no ability, so I ended up in a program. And in that program, somebody was running my life, and they were very clear. The addict and Paul were not the same thing. So they dealt with me as an addict. They spoke to me as an addict. Yes? And therefore, I got some fucking relief from it. Because before I went into that rehab, it was just the addict called Paul talking to the object called Paul. It was a fucking self-fest. Yes? It was a menage a trois with only two. Yeah. So We have all the information. Everyone sitting here has had enough. Yeah. The tea leaves are just spread all across our past. You can read it. Yeah. Did you defeat yourself? Or did something defeat you? Yes or no? It's that fundamentally different. Yeah. If you believe you did all that stuff, and the only way you can deal with it by being the one who did all that stuff is by having remorse and guilt and shame, well, so your field of life could have been 500 yards. You're going to play in a 200-yard field. Yeah. Your life's going to be smaller because a lot of it's going to store those guilt and shame and all that remorse. Yeah. It's going to be like dead space in this living moment. Go ahead. If that works, fine. Yeah. I'm a doer. I did it. That's that. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes the disease practices keep it simple also. It practices keep it simple. Oh yeah, something moved through you, but you did it. It's just, that's the simple answer for everything. Give me a break. Yeah. The evidence in your own life, something took you over and used you for transportation. Yes or no? Was that something a part of you? No. It didn't act like it was a part of you. It wasn't pulling on the same team with the tug of war. It was on the other side. It's not on your team. I don't know. If you don't have that view, then do whatever. I have that view. I mean, I saw it as something foreign to me. Yeah. With a parasitical nature. And that's that. Yeah, that's how I see it. I've seen it. I saw it, and that's how I see it ever since. Yeah. Do I think there's a thing? No, it's an activity. I could go into like layers of it, but who cares? It's not you. That's the important thing. Seriously. Yeah. And you can either have your knowledge neutered by the self-claiming it, or you can have knowledge of self, which would show you that. It would show you how self claims knowledge. That's why it avails us nothing. That's what knowledge of self shows you. Yeah. The topic isn't the subject. The topic, knowledge of self, isn't the one studying self. It's not self studying self. We're seeing it from what we are, which I cannot give name to. Let's call it spirit. Yeah. We're seeing it not from the system. That's how you see the system has failed. If you're seeing it from the system, you're experiencing the failure of the system. Yeah. So there you go.
The feeling I have now, Paul, is like it's all starting with this. It feels like I have some ease and comfort that I never had before, and it's like I understood that what's happening, it's what's happening right now. But I have had that understanding for a couple of years. But it's like when I started going to these meetings and I listened to you for several years, it's like I've been rooted in a sense of ease and comfort, that it's like it's the beginning, understand, and then like the action figure tells me stuff, now you're driving the car, now you're doing this, blah 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 blah. But it's like it's more hilarious to listen to, how the little Sven, action doll Sven, could tell me everything what's happening the whole time, and this is going to happen. But it's like the original feeling is the ease and comfort, and it's like it's fucking amazing.
Yes, it is. It's amazing enough to have us come here every Tuesdays and Thursday for years, and I will probably continue to come if we have a setting like this. Why? It's just, there's no question about it. Yeah. I mean,
I came home when I came to this meeting. So
oh, great. I'm
yeah,
happy.
it's great.
Very
Great
happy.
to be here. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you,
great.
Paul.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you for that share.
All right, well, Kathleen had to step away, but you have me now. So thank you, Jorn. And our next question comes from Giselle. Giselle, you have a question for Paul today or a comment?
Oh, comment, testimony. So happy to be here. Paul, I will continue to come, and I hope you continue to come, because, you know, that self in me needs repetition,
Yes.
because it's been ingrained for so long. You know, I have a new attitude and a new outlook on life, and a lot of relief, and freedom, and I relate to everything, every word you say. Even I crack up when you say things like, you know, it's going to rip me a new one in my head. Yes, that's where it is now. Sometimes, you know, I'll just give you two quick examples, if I may. I work out on a regular basis, and this morning was my workout time, and I had to get to this meeting. You know, I had a doctor's appointment, and then I went and worked out, and I'm like, okay, I got 40 minutes to work out. I get into the parking lot of the gym, and there's all these cars parked there. And I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get through the machines that I want. I'm never going to have enough time. I'm just going to have to cut it short again, because I've cut it short before, you know. And I go in and I say, God, just let me do what you want me to do. Please come with me. And whatever it is, I need to be on time for this meeting, because I love this meeting. I'm addicted to this meeting. And so I walk in the gym, and, you know, I got every piece of equipment that I wanted in good time, in good order. And I started looking at people, and they have TV screens all around. And I kept saying, look how beautiful God's people are. And I was courteous, and I was kind. You know, I used to have thoughts of, oh, you know, judgment, criticism. You know, I would look at other people and I would say, oh, you know, whatever, this is bad, that's bad, this is bad. You know, what does he think? You know, he's going to take this machine away from me. And it's, you know, it's not my machine. You know, I mean, but just the change in my attitude. You know, I'll get there when I get there. Whatever it is, you know. And no criticism, no judgment of people. In fact, I'm complimenting people in my head. You know, look how beautiful they are. God really does a great job with people, with us humans. And, you know, and that's a whole new change in outlook. You know, the self wants to criticize everything. Um, the self wants to be impatient. The self wants what it wants when it wants it. And I was able to take it out of the menage a trois. You know, it was a menage of deux, me and God, you know. And that's the freedom. And, you know, I try to intellectualize my way into a connection with God, as I always have tried to find my way into things intellectually. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know, I finally allowed the process to be, just do the disciplines and see what happens. And you know what? God transformed me. I know it, you know, and I see it now. I see the spiritual awakening in everything, you know, and each day is a new interesting day of what I would think was ordinary, you know, and accepting of things. And oh my God, what a beautiful way to live. Thank you. You know, I met with a judge on Friday morning, in regards to a not-for-profit treatment program here in Las Vegas that I just got involved in to be useful. You know, I'm all about service now. And the person that introduced me to him is in recovery, and the three of us were having coffee, and the person wanted me to tell my story to this judge. So what do? I start off by using excuses. Well, I relapsed. My son was sick. My mother died. Da da da. And that judge gets it. He's a drug court judge here in Vegas, and he said, "You would have done that if the sun was shining." And I said, "You're right. But what I'm about to tell you, I'm embarrassed to tell you because he's a judge, and I embarrass the judiciary in my head. The self wants to tell me I'm a bad person. And what healing?" He said, "No, no, 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 you're not. You couldn't help but do the things you did." And I couldn't. I couldn't help but do the things I did. I was driven by self. That wasn't who I am. I would never have done those things. And now he wants to use me to talk to some lawyers here to the bar. I mean, I said, fine, I will be useful. But that's, I'm aware of how the self comes in and wants to, be embarrass me, and shame me for the things that I did. And it's just a great freedom to have the awareness. So I just wanted to give you this testimony of how you're helping me. And I love what Miranda said. Yeah, bless this day. Have a mother, whatever she said, bless. What was it? Bless this motherfucker? I don't know,
Got this.
but I
We
loved
have
it.
the shirt coming out, so you can get this.
I'm sorry, I don't have a question. I want to just, give you my experience with how you're helping me. Thank you.
Great. Yes. Remember. Yeah.
And I can't
Something-
intellectualize it.
Yeah. 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 You don't need to just live it. It's nice. That's the relief is in the living.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Paul, we have James Lebowski. Hey, James, come on in.
Lebowski.
Hey, Paul. Good to see you. Mean that quite literally. My schedule looped me out of this seat assignment here for almost a year, and I'm getting a chance to get back in, and I was so relieved. Same login, same time, same, cast of characters, and it just really made me feel good, especially seeing as I really was cruising for a while, it felt like a little bit without this identification of self getting in the way. And through that process, I obtained some stuff which I've unobtained, and I find myself back to trying to find out what I have done to try to fix what I'm experiencing in all this. And find it real, just like I think when you relapse and you try to come back in, you find it real difficult to abstain at first. I'm really having a hard time abstaining from using that personal pronoun on everything. My money, my ex, my house. You'd think that I was responsible for the IRS or something. I've taken it all on again, and it's just really been a struggle. It's amazing how it worked its way back in without me even seeing it. But I can't even describe where I'm at in non-dual language.
Yeah.
It's all me, I, and mine again. And this is really where I started seeing another way real clearly, in your meeting, to out of that identification. It really was so sticky for me. And then when it came so easy. You just said something and it clicked something, and it just seemed like for some period of years, I could really float through circumstances in my own life without getting so damn attached that I created new circumstances trying to deal with the circumstances. And anyway, it was really nice, man. I don't know if it's my listening today or you're speaking today, but boy, when I came on, I know often you're communicating the same thing, but it lands different sometimes. And I just really appreciate it. You kind of really micro targeted it for me today, and kind of gave it to me in that strong barrel full that I kind of needed. And I just want to say I appreciate it. Like everybody, I'm really, I mean, I like you. You're a great guy, but I'm here to save my ass.
Yes.
Uh,
It's good to see you, James. And, just you can take you don't take this step, but you can take a step back and then see that's which saying that you're really identified is not you also. Yeah. There's always a step back. Yeah. And then when there isn't, you'll know it. And then there's a true distance between the activity of you and being you. Yeah. And you just, those eyes will see more. Yeah. So, and if this works, just come to the talks. I mean, if I found something that worked, I would go to it. When I needed things to work, I would be here. Yeah.
well, I'm
Just-
so grateful you're here, dude. I really am.
it can be so much softer and easier, really. It doesn't have to be, this isn't based on meritocracy. Yeah, this is a given, this is a gift freely given. We're the ones who, and we're not, but the head comes up with requirements we need to meet to receive the gift. You're past that point. The gift is readily, freely available. Yeah, your withholding yourself is based on this side, not that side. Yeah, yeah, and it's just the head. Yeah, the head will tell you tons of shit. You're disconnected, you've lost it, and this. If you just take a breath, none of that has really come to pass. Yeah, it's just made up. Yeah, yeah. The simplest thing when I was younger in AA, when I worked with people, a lot of them, I would ask them just to do a basic inventory of their day. Like, when did you wake up? 8 o'clock. Yeah. What did, shower, coffee, got on the bike, rode to work, and on and on. And then have them just see that basic inventory of what actually they did, and then sense the narrative that was playing over it and how fucking off it was. The narrative was, you're not doing enough. You did tons of shit that day. Yeah. And you start, you get some hints of the bogusness of this audio, your life in audio. Yeah. This stuff that you're hearing in the head. When you have physical demonstration, you've been quite busy the day. It has a story. Oh, you're fucking lazy. It's just and you'll see that 2023, March 28th, the narrative is like 1994. It's not even close to being applicable to what's happening. Yes. Why
I'm going to act
do
like you
that?
told
This
me to
is
do
not
it.
It's not just like a fruitless exercise. It implies and offers a lot. You notice, just to hear that everything is false evidence is different than knowing it as false evidence when it's appearing. It's much different. Yeah. So this is what happens. You start seeing what you used to look from. So most of us look from, oh, I've been totally disconnected and da, 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 da. No, there's an awareness of that activity, that mental activity that's trying to imply a objective description of an objective event. You see it from awareness. Yeah. Yeah. So you never got lost in it. The awareness has never become unaware. Yeah. It may on the surface not seem to be there, but it's the context of it all. You can't be, your awareness isn't something that's done. It is. Yeah. Yeah. So you're aware. There's an awareness of the presentation of this story. Yeah, that you were, oh, I've been disconnected and I'm blah, blah, blah. That's a story, really. Yeah. Yeah. Now you can live that story out, and then there's an investment. I want that story to be right, and then other things will come to pass. But the underlying fact is it's a story. Yeah. Because if you are awareness, you've never been disconnected from it. That's all there is. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? There isn't the dark side of the moon. It's all the moon. Yeah. Yeah. So it's good to see you. And satsang these talks can help. So just let them help. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you again. I just want to say thanks and appreciate the skillful means there. I think I'm going to act like you told me to do it. So I think that's a great exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just write down like how the day's going. Everyone is fucking busy. Even if it's doing nothing, it's busy. Yeah. And the real value isn't the fruit of what you do, it's the awareness of being there. That to me is the real value of life. You're aware that there's a living. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So inherently, it's value. There's value. No matter if it's increasing other values or decreasing other values, there's an inherent value of being. And we're that. Yeah. So this
The
whole
knowledge of self.
the head is unbelievable. Yeah. It's got you believing that you got to earn a lot of shit and with the belief that you actually don't deserve it. It's always cognitive dissonance. Yes. You've got to earn it, but really you don't deserve it. So, I mean, you can't win. So just see that there's a listening to that. That's being listened to. What is that which is listening to it? It is not of that. That which is hearing it isn't of that which is being heard. It isn't. Yeah. The audience is not the play. The audience is witnessing a play. Yeah. I would say we are of the audience. We may be in a play, but we are of the audience. Yeah. Yeah.
You made me take a note.
Hmm?
You made me take a note.
Yeah. Just allow the aperture. The aperture can go back farther. It can. There's
Hell yeah.
not going to be more seeing. There's just going to be seeing more. There's tons of seeing, but you'll see more. Yeah. And then more gets, and then like it says, more gets revealed. Yeah. In the seeing more, that more gets revealed. Yeah. 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 All right. Nice to see you, bro. So
Thanks
much.
for satsang, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you, James. Our next participant is Nicholas. You have your hand up. Come on in, Nicholas.
Hey everyone, pretty damn cool stuff. Sort of going off of Giselle and James both. It seems that semantics are what trips me up. Just using the word "me" is plays into that, right? And I'm wondering if the selfing necessarily gets more power just in the use of our language and how powerful language is. I mean, sometimes you will use the word "you" to refer to the action figure and as to spirit. And I'm wondering if you've played around with when I say "I," to use that as referencing my action figure, and to use a different word as to referencing spirit. So I think if that's clear, then I'll shut up.
Well, we're not looking for that clarity. We want to just sort of be lifted, not lifted, but be above it, so to speak. So I'm not into changing the language. I'm just.
But don't you? I believe. I mean, it took me. I mean, I'm still a very much a neophyte in all this. But I got tripped up quite a bit in just the use of "I" and "you" and going back and forth, and it tells me that that's what causes me to go astray. quickly, and I'm wondering if we're underestimating the power of the use of I and you and getting back into those that well-worn groove in the record.
Well, right here, you've demonstrated as a different use for that. So it brought about a confusion and stuff, and that's very revelatory. So you see it. Yeah. So this is I am observing these talks also. Yeah. 'Cause I'm not the one giving the talk. There's a lot going on to weaken the reliance on semantics and words and importance of being this or that. It's more of an energetic thing that gets tingled, I hope. And a lot of times, a lot of it's brought about by being confusing. Yeah. Yes. So that's how yeah, that's how it is. So, but
Did you ever play around with using different words to refer to you, the action figure? And
people wanted me to, but it never really stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it works. The sloppy Joe is better to see that there's not a Joe, so to speak. Yeah. I don't want to be specific to that thing that yeah.
I see.
There's a strategy, so
So that should not be named, is just honor that.
yeah, there's play around, and I beg forgiveness for any confusion it sets off, but it seems to all work. And again, the action figure is a slacker. I'm not going to do extensive work about getting all these, try to be as specific as I can with words. I much rather override the words with feeling. Yeah. So that's sort of what goes on.
Got it.
Yeah. But I appreciate it, bro. When I write, when we do a book of these talks, then I attempt to become more specific. Yes. But the sharing of a live talk has qualities you can't capture with specificity. You know what I mean? There's a feeling in it that has the power. So, but if I was writing a book, I'd be more specific with word usage. Yeah.
Go with a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I don't like writing books. So someone has forced me to do it.
Get a
And
good
then-
editor.
Because then I just want to keep trying to get more specific with the word. Yeah. And I can see the intent of the live meeting. It's not trying to get the message through the specificness. It's more of an atmospheric bomb, so to speak. Yeah. Not
get
a
it.
smart bomb. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But this is, yeah. So forgive me for sloppiness, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, I switch, but my feeling is completely different when I say you one way or another, and I'm hoping that gets through sooner or later through the transmission, because the feelings are the sense is completely different when sometimes I use the same word. Yes. Yeah, but the sense is very strongly different. Yeah. So that's the communication I'm hoping to get through, not built on words, but built more on a feeling.
Nice.
Yeah, a certainty generated. Yeah. So yeah, but I'll put that in the next thing I need to do, bro. Thank you. I'll probably never get to it, but yeah.
The action figure won't.
The action figure, but I really see it when we try to translate this into a book form. Then I work, yeah, specific, but the live talks are completely different. Yeah.
I honor that. Yeah.
Feel it, bro? I mean, not just you, Nicholas, others, yeah, they must feel it, yeah. They don't know how things are working, they just feel different from the talk, yeah, yeah. So, or they feel the same, which is great from the talk. In different days and different environments and through different conditions, there's a sameness that I hope will imply something that's not finite, yes? Yeah. All right, but thanks, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. We have one more question today, Paul. You still have time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Danny, California, come on in, Danny. Thank you for being patient. Unmute yourself and
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your service. Paul, good to see you. I hope
Yeah.
all is well. I have noticed more and more that in my day-to-day, the unconditioned consciousness, moment by moment, activities are done with presence, sense perception. I feel light, out of my mind, but I get got in particular when it comes to a couple triggers, in particular family. My mother, the youngest of three, we've had a codependent relationship for many, many years. And I go into complete unconsciousness and self-ego takes over. I react. I use emotional mind. I'm not able to pause. And shortly after, literally minutes, I notice, I got. I went into that conditioned self, not the unconditioned consciousness. And it's difficult to catch it before it happens. I'm trying to, but there's a lot of resistance. The inertia of self and all these years of being a certain way really pulls me to that end. And it feels terrible afterwards, because then the narrative is, I can't believe I got. I can't believe I did it again. And I'm able to get out of it, but I don't want to get in it. Addition with, and it,
You should ask, who is it that doesn't want to get in it?
the awareness doesn't want to be a part of it.
No, awareness is fine with everything, I'd imagine. Yeah. It's you, it's the head, yes? It's all right, we have that drive, but it isn't, your innermost self is I would say, more of a field of acceptance than a movement to go somewhere. Yeah, yeah, that's my feeling. So this is what AA says, practice these principles in all your affairs or limit your affairs. So you're going to need, the conditionality of this experience in you is things get triggered with family. Wow, who would have thought? It happens with a lot of people. So you bring that up to the higher power and you ask it to reconfigure how you see your mom and stuff like that, which is step 6 and 7. Yeah. And hopefully you'll notice that things will get better or you'll be traveling lighter through. Yeah. And this is the part, there's an activity going on that demands certain attention. And then there's the space that it's going on in. Yeah. And one thing you're moving through and the other is what you what you actually are, is the reliance of. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that used to be let's say cemented in place in your life, that cement has been reversed and it's not set yet. So things are gonna be undone. And it may look uncomfortable and stuff like that, but this is part and parcel of what's going on here. And a lot of these things that you'd like to be out of are bringing great value to your life because you have empathy for other people who have the same situation, stuff like that. And remember, the point of recovery is to be of maximum use. It isn't for you to get great. Yeah, it's for you to be of maximum use. And who's there to say what's that supposed to look like? Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I would see it if I could. Yeah. But a lot of my life in the beginning of recovery was limiting my affairs because I was outmatched and I didn't, so I admitted that I wasn't going to be able to be different that time. Yeah. So I tried to limit those affairs. I didn't go see my family as much. Yeah.
Right, right.
So yeah. So this is.
And that's part of it, definitely.
And you
creating
didn't
that
kill
space.
anybody. You didn't freaking kill anybody. And I'm sure they may have thought they had a lovely day with you.
Interaction.
Yeah, the head is making up a huge story. Yeah. I swear, I actually believe now that I was involved with this lady in Australia, and I had such a story that I shouldn't be in that relationship, that I was moved out of it. Yet every time, and she was completely surprised because she thought I was happy. And all the pictures that I ever saw when I was with her, I was happy. I was probably happy, but it was overridden by the story. Yeah. Now she didn't have that overridden. So she was completely surprised when I made my declaration, I've got to get out of this relationship, as if it was terrible. I was boogie boarding all day, living in a nice place in Australia. It was pretty sweet, but I wasn't able to, I wasn't telling the truth about it. I wasn't taking a bare bone inventory. I was believing the narration. And the narration said, this isn't good and da. And I was completely believing it to override a very workable relationship. Yeah. Now, I learned I learned about that after the fact. Yeah. But it was very valuable to see it. Yeah. How strong the allegiance to the narration was, that it was blinding me to what was actually happening. I was just afraid to be committed, yeah, to another person. That's basically what it was. And the head was just finding fucking stories and basically, being the fish, I saw everything as hooks. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Don't let a mental idea of perfection become the enemy of the good. Yes. Just, yeah. Be happy that when you left and the family was still alive. you had
Beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And here you're in a movement, like it or not, time and space. We're moving seemingly through space, and that moving is of time. Yeah. So this is the dreaming of out of the dreaming. And as you do, the dream gets happier. That's the description from the Course in Miracles. I have to admit that's the case. Is everything perfect? No. Am I available and loving every person I meet? Probably not. Yes. Do I have a huge amount of interest in that? No, I don't. Yeah. Is a large amount of your budget going to that endeavor? No, not. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just doing less harm. That's great. Yeah. And my whole life in a way has been a shift of interest, really. That self-centered interest, I'm so bad, I got to become good and all this shit, has been lost interest in completely. Yeah. And the things that used to have to call me to do something, I'm not listening to that tune anymore. Yeah. So there you go. And haven't you ever experienced when you thought something you did was so terrible, and then you go to the person to make amends and they didn't even remember that event? It was completely
100%.
completely different than the meaning you gave it. Yeah, this is what the head.
100%.
Yeah, so, but thanks, bro. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, yeah. It's working, my friend. So that's all. Yeah, and shit that hides in the weeds is going to be brought out and you'll be able to recognize it. And we have a mechanism of having that gold that's been put into that form get melted, which is step 6 and 7. So it can be put to great use. Yeah. All right. All right.
Right on. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
well, thank you for the share. Very nice. Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Appreciate you. Okay, Paul, that's all the hands up for today. Would you like to say goodbyes? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Say Danny,
Okay, thank-
California. Great. Michael, nice to see you as always. Are you going to be there later, Mike? Are we doing that thing today? Great. Oh yeah, we have a meeting at 4:30 Pacific time. It's probably going to be very similar to this, but it has a different title, the non-duality, but maybe close to this, who knows? Gary C, that's at 4:30 Pacific time, same Zoom, same, no password. Nice to see you, Gary. Yep.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, you're welcome. Sally, as always. Oh, Gary, I'll be seeing you soon, Gary, this weekend, hopefully. up
Yeah,
there.
I'll be there.
All right, great. We got Joseph in France. Nice to see you, Joseph. We've got, I can't see the name. I think it's Andy. I don't know. I have the part of the thing blocking. Well, whoever, nice to see you. Chris B, as always. Nicholas, thank you for your share, Nicholas. Yep. Walter. That's a cool thing. What's doing that? Jeff P. Nice to see you, Jeff, down south. Kurt Z down south. Nice to see you, Kurt. You all right? Feeling all right physically? Yeah?
You're coming along. Thanks, buddy.
All right. We got the Lebowski. He's returned. Yes. Florida, John. Nice to see John. Joran in Sweden. Pleasure, Joran. Thanks for your share and everything else. Kerry's on the move. He's driving. We got Hallie. Nice to see you, Hallie. All's well, Hallie? Good? Oh, great, great. Roman, as always. Yes. We're going to be dancing in Sicily, bro. Yes, yes. John K. Giselle's phone. We got, who else here? We got Nina, as always.
Hey, Paul, I wanted to welcome Ken. It was his first meeting today.
Oh, Ken, nice to see you, Ken. Yeah, I hope it's not the last. We got Tim. Hi, Tim, nice to see you, bro.
Good to see you. Thanks for a good meeting, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, man.
Natalie, as always. Yep. We've got Christine from Kona. Oliver, Berlin, Giselle. Kerry again, I see. We got Alex. Oh, Alex and Jacob, there they are. Nice to see you guys. Natalie K, I see you there. Andrew, Annette, Lori, April. It's coming on, April. We got Rich A. We have Ken. I don't know, I can't read this thing, but whatever. Tom, nice to see Tom. If I missed you, yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, you're welcome, Kathleen, everybody. I'll see you guys
Thanks,
later
everybody.
on.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul. Take care.
Adios.
Bless up, motherfuckers.